Good evening, everybody. Welcome to MCFC 9320 PUBcast, and I'm back. I survived. Thank you to Anne-Marie and Paddy for looking after the show last week. Good evening, Stanley. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Great. And hello to everybody in the chat, especially me daughter there who were linked up with in Benidorm last week. I didn't really before the rumours start. No, it's good. It's good to be back. Don't want to talk about football as such tonight, do we?
No.
There's too much of it. There's too much negativity and stuff like that. So far, something we'll do a bit of a different show tonight, and we'll talk about pretty much anything. Your best players, your favourite players, the most value for money, players what with us for such a long time, but what made an impact. I'll throw some beauties in there as well, but I want everybody to get involved tonight. So please interact, and we'll have a good old debate. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Hey, do you like the new layout or what? Even though Paddy didn't even notice. And by the way, Paddy and Anne-Marie, is your national team City in disguise the way you just fell apart? But listen, we're not talking about football. Right, so good evening to everybody who's in the chat. Adam, my name is Martin, ITK. Arsenal Premier League champions 115. Good to see that you've made the effort on a Sunday evening to join on Manchester City channel. Thank you very much for that. Don't believe Big Morg, Section, Mark, Durant, Sean, Nabil, me, Sean, Blue Art, and everybody there. Right, let's get into it. Right, I'm gonna go for one straight away, and I just want us to discuss this lad because this lad had the world at his feet, right? But it's just like Paddy, bonkers. He's not coming on the screen. Oh, yeah, there he is. Mario Balotelli. Let's get straight into Mario. Do you agree? He had the world at his feet. Probably one of the most composed players I've ever seen. Never seen him get angry. One assist for us, which was the Aguero moment. Stan, I'll let you go first because I know you like a mushroom and people like to keep you in the dark there, but come on, out in the light, son.
He had the world at his feet. Are you sure?
Well, that's it. Let's talk about it. And everybody in the chat.
No, that's why I started off slowly there. Of course it is. We've all got different ideas of everybody.
Before you start, sure. Before you start, Anne-Marie, do you want to just read BB's comment out?
Harwood Bellis gets England's 5th goal tonight. Congratulations to the lad. 5th.
All right. Sorry, Star. Go on.
That's all right. I noticed the guys are very good when they're fighting against the lesser numbers. Seems to have made it. You're going to bring up the England thing. Seem to do very well when they're not playing on a level playing field, don't they?
No, we're not talking about football. We're not talking about football. Come on, not Mario Balotelli.
He might well have had the world at his feet, but he'll have ended up burning them. So I wouldn't worry about it. Shooting himself in the foot or burning his feet or doing. He'd have done something. He wasn't really disciplined. He was great as a comedy cartoon character. And it was great that he played for us. If he'd have played for Liverpool or United or Arsenal, we'd have just thought of him as a dick. And that's it. It doesn't mean to say you're not grateful for the one assist.
He did play
for you're always, you go, well, he was a dick, wasn't he? There you go, you see. Prove me point.
He was. Listen, I had a lot of time for Mario.
That's fine. Yeah.
And you remember when we had Les Chapman on with us and we spoke a bit about Mario, about all the rumours and stuff like that. Do you remember, Paddy? And Chappie went, the majority of them was true.
I tell you what, I bet the ones we didn't hear about were even better.
The best one was bonfire. Well, fireworks just the night before the Manchester derby, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Go on, Paddy. What's your memories of Mario? Is it a wasted talent or?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. He was an absolute waste of a talent. If he had the application and the belief and the discipline, yes, he could have went on to be a world star, but he didn't. And not only at our club, like if you listen to Jose Mourinho, by the time he was the only available forward and he was on a yellow card, and Mourinho says to him, I think it was half time, Mario don't get booked. 2 minutes in the second half, he gets booked and fucking sent off. Like he didn't approach the game right. Had he skill, had he talent, yeah, in abundance, did he use it 20% of the time, 25% of the time? But his stance is, if he hadn't been playing for another club, you'd have thought he was an asshole.
Anne-Marie, do you think he would have been able to work and play for Pep?
No.
Why?
Because I think ultimately, while he was a gifted player, I think he caused a lot of problems in our dressing room at the time.
It's the self-discipline. It's the self-discipline. He didn't have that. Guardiola wants it, and that's why Guardiola was happy to let Ibrahimovic go. If you don't fit in it is, without a shadow of a doubt, Pep's way or the highway. Now, you can argue that all day, but that's what it is. And for some people who may be very, very skillful and very charismatic, it's not my way. Fair enough. Go and play for another club. There's plenty of clubs in the world. When people say, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, you can do things. It's just not particularly a path that you feel that you should be going down.
I can't get past this exactly. Was it you just mentioned it, Anne-Marie, about Mourinho?
No, it was Paddy.
Oh,
Paddy.
And that just typifies Mario, doesn't it? The way he, just the way he was absolutely bonkers. And I don't know if you remember.
Know what?
And Paddy, you won't remember this. Stan, you may remember this, and Anne-Marie. Remember years ago when we had the MCFC forum?
Yeah. Yeah.
His brother Enoch was actually a member.
Enoch. He'll come knocking on your door.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like Adam says there, the goal against Norwich, the way it went in off his shoulder, it's just like, who'd have had the nous to do that instead of just deading it? And was it against a pre-season tour in America where he
Mancini brought him off?
Yeah, got straight away.
He tried backheeling it instead of just tapping it in. And that just typifies Mario.
I think that's a waste of talent, and I know he's not the only one. You could say Ross Barkley and Dele Alli and them kind of guys. Like they had God-given talent, but they didn't have the discipline or self-discipline. They apply it,
Would you put that down mainly to Mancini then for not controlling him more?
He let him get away with murder.
He let him get away with massacre at Old Trafford.
No, but he quite blatantly had favouritism towards Balotelli, which wasn't, at the time, it wasn't good for the team. The fact that we were getting news reports that they were scrapping on the training field, him and Mancini, wasn't good. That's not good to read for a team. And he couldn't get a bib on. Well, no, he couldn't, and he was allergic to grass, for God's sake.
Yeah, and that is just Balotelli. I want to throw another one out here, right? He wasn't with us a long time, right? But do you know something? The impact he had on us at the time. Any clues, Stan, who I'm going to throw into the...
No, but before you go on, though, that story about Mourinho and Balotelli doesn't reveal much about Balotelli, but it does reveal that Jose Mourinho does tell porkies. that match that happened, he wasn't sent off after a minute. There's a few embellishments in there from me. So
don't spoil the joy.
Christmas is coming, innit? The Grinch is out. So
This fella here, do you remember when we couldn't afford something like 200k for him, Daniel Van Boyten?
Yeah, I was gutted when he went. Couldn't afford him, could we?
No, couldn't afford him. And did he end up going to Bayern Munich in the end?
Yeah, did he not go back to Hamburg and then they sold him on to somebody like Bayern and he got loads of caps and what have you? He was again, he's one of them that, if you can remember him, he was a bit of a cult hero, wasn't he? He was a good player. He really was a good player. Just 200 grand, they couldn't afford it.
I think he had. I think he had an injury, didn't he? But we didn't take the options. We didn't take the option because we couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
But
I think the only option he had is which flight he was going back to Hamburg. I think that was it. That was all.
Yeah, at the time, Anne-Marie, he was like a shining light, wasn't he? Somebody what. And I put him in the category of not being with us long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But what we saw of him was encouraging. But there was, we had a few like that. And whether we couldn't afford them or what it was, I don't know. They didn't stay long enough. But that was just the way it was at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and because he was at the time he was touted as he came to us on loan and he was touted as being one of the best going to be one of the best centre backs in the world. And I think he went on to sort of like become that at that time when he went to. I'm sure he went to Munich, didn't he?
I think he did in the end, but not necessarily straight from us.
I bet you don't even remember him, do you, Paddy?
No.
Yeah, because it was pre-2008, mate.
Oh well, don't be asking me questions. Think that.
That was a low blow, that Andy. That was a low blow.
I know. And again, everybody in the chat, throw your names in there. The categories what you class them as. Van Boyten. He came to us at a time. Didn't spend a long time with us. Did you rate him? Same as Balotelli. It doesn't have to be the players what we're putting on the screen or anything tonight. You give us your players and your memories of them. The worst ever City player. Exactly. You could go down them and down them and down them, but somebody's favourite player might be a different person's worst player. For various reasons, like we've seen one here, bisection, and again, Nicholas Anelka could have been world class, but he never stuck around long enough, and that was down to if you listen to the press, his brothers who were agents, weren't they, Stan?
Yeah, not a guy that had it all.
But Anelka, there's when you think back to various games, and the one that sticks in my head is the Spurs away in the cup when we came back to win it. And within 20 minutes, he went off in that game injured.
Mm-hmm.
When from his point of view, the writing was on the wall, in my opinion.
No, there's a lot of truth. It's a bit like Bukayo Saka now at Arsenal. He when the chips are down, he seems to go down and come off injured. He's sort of like
his nickname was No Sulk, was it?
Yeah,
it was. One thing I remember him in, the match I remember most is Chelsea came to town with Mourinho and they hadn't lost and they were all singing, all dancing. And Elka put the penalty away 1-0 and we won gone and we won.
Yeah, I remember.
And do you know what? That was the game where Sun Jin Hai had an absolute belter. You thought, finally, he's got through. Finally, he's going to get hurt. Then he got an injury and he never really played again.
Stan, was that a late kickoff on a Saturday? That
not sure of the day. No, I remember I got there early because I wanted to see him
during the day.
I think it was a Saturday.
Either one here, Wilfred Boney. He was sort of like so. nobody really wanted him, but we seem to do everything to get that fella.
Yeah, we figured out.
He was doing well at Swansea, in fairness, he was.
He was, but he had his team built around him.
Into our team. Never. We should
No,
never have bought him.
He had a team built for him at Swansea, which is fair enough, and he's shone. And you get that sometimes, don't you?
And here's one for you, and you'll appreciate this, and I think everyone does. A player who used to be like a wasp, used to hate him unless he played for you, and it was this lad here, Craig Bellamy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought Bellamy came to us, and something that is credit to Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes actually borrowed City money, didn't he, to get Bellamy?
I remember having a discussion with an esteemed member of this panel about Bellamy, and somebody wasn't very happy that we bought him, and somebody reassured him that said that he might be a dick. He might be a dick, but he'll be our dick, and we'll love him.
And do you know something, mate? I can remember that conversation we had.
Yeah. You really weren't happy, and it was funny because I'd had that exact same conversation in the pub a couple of nights before when I was speaking to you, and I thought, we're going down the same path here. I'm going to end up having the same, not argument, the same discussion. He's the world's most annoying bastard, but if he's working with you, he's a great lad. He really is. And he'll do things that you think, would other people do that same? And they wouldn't. I mean, I'm saying this with a bit of comedic effect. All right, he's battered somebody around the head with a golf club, and he's done all the other things that you shouldn't be doing and all that. But that's because he's wound up, and he's got a very short fuse. I'm not condoning it. He shouldn't have done it. He knows that. But when you've done it, it's too late to bring it. The genie's out of the bottle.
Wasn't that just allegedly?
No, I think with the pictures that were taken have given that one away. I don't think you're gonna deny or disagree, and I'm pretty certain he has spoken about it. But there we go. But then again, who was he did it to?
Is what?
Bellamy.
It was a Liverpool player.
Who's he what?
Who was it? Who did he thwack?
For what?
Who was it he tried to hit?
It was a Liverpool player.
It was, yeah. Yeah, and it's not somebody you would have thought you were going to hit. John Arne Rice.
I was just going to say Risa, yeah. Yeah.
So,
because he also got hold of Robinho's throat as well, didn't he?
The thing is, he's a living embodiment of the. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog. And he's got plenty of fight. Don't worry about that.
And you know something, it's well documented even through him. The mental issues and that he's had. It's just great to see him, doing well. Leading his national team and stuff like that now as well. Because like
again, I mean, City related.
Just look at all the trouble Hughes went to get him, and look at all the trouble Hughes went to get bloody Santa Cruz, and he was a donkey for us.
Yeah,
he was another one. He was like Boney. He had a system around him that suited him, and he scored, and that's fine. That's football. That's life. You can go to one place of work and you love it. You don't want to move, and then you move and you go somewhere else. And you think, well, that'll be better, and it's not. These are those things. Again, it brings out the personality of Mancini as well. He wanted Bellamy training twice a day. Bellamy's legs couldn't do it.
That's right.
So there was a massive exploited argument, for want of a better phrase. A row. Yeah, no, a row, an absolute row. It's crisis and this. He's right and he's wrong enough. Blew up all over it. What it was if Mancini had decided, said, right, well, hang on a minute, he can't train every twice a day, as it was at the time. He thought other players might start saying, well, hang on a minute, if he's not training twice a day, I'm not training twice a day. So he's had to put down a marker, and he put his marker down. And 1 second, Paddy. 1 second, Paddy. Then Bellamy went, well, if you're going to do that, I've got to think of my own career. you know, I've got a few more years left in me. I'm going to have to do something to, you know, look after myself here because you're going to destroy me. And it ended up, quite rightly, they went their separate ways. Like I say, you know, nobody says you have to play for this club for the rest of your life, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. So Mancini then could get on doing what he did. Craig could get on doing what he did, and you move on. And that's life. It's one of those things. But just made you smirk at the time of the press trying to blow things up and, you know, trying to look into things that weren't.
No, but at that particular time, Stan, in fairness, we were too easy to access. So any news that anything that happened at City was in the paper the next day.
Yeah,
Same way before the cup final against Wigan, we all knew Mancini was getting sacked. And that's because Mancini leaked it himself.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's why we moved from Cannington as well, wasn't it? You know, those pictures were at Cannington.
Stan, I'm going to shut you up on Bellamy because I know you can talk about him all night, mate.
All right, then. Who do you want me to talk about all night now?
Let's talk out of whether it's players what you consider value for money. You know, who we bought, who you think, you know, the impact what they've had on the club, and you think value for money. That you can throw a few out there, can't you? Like
it was his birthday the other day.
De Bruyne,
Morrison.
Who, Stan?
Morrison.
Oh, I'm just by magic.
Morrison by a mile.
Yeah, and he's go on.
This section will have to discount anyone who came through the academy by definition because they cost now, so it don't matter, does it? So we've got to have paid a fee. And who is it? I mean, you know, you can argue, and what did we pay Shrewsbury for Joe Hart? 60,000? He very rarely gets mentioned.
And that's it. But
Andy
Morrison, and that's what I'm saying, Amory. You know, the impact what Andy Morrison had for us. You know, we paid peanuts for him. You know, when he came from Huddersfield, he had a really bad reputation. And he told the story when he came on the show that time. You know, that you know, he just needed to get away from. He was from Huddersfield. He came to us. And he wasn't expecting to really play much and stuff like that. But the impact he had on us, and that's why I consider him more than anybody who was in that. So like the not just the playoff final because but that whole season, because whether it's Dickoff, whether it's Goto, whether even Kev Orlog, Bish or whoever, Andy Morrison at that time, he made the most impact because most of them players played the season before to get us relegated. It was all fresh and new, wasn't it, for Andy Morrison? And the way he just came in the club, you know, and just dragged us by the bootstraps.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, two others spring to mind that were obviously a lot more than Andy, but in comparison to fees at that time, take a bow. Vincent Kompany and Pablo Zabaleta.
Yeah.
But it just shows how good a manager Mark Hughes was to play them both in midfield.
Wait, hang on a minute.
He did. He played them both in midfield.
Just because you're back, you don't have to take liberties.
Well, it's right. And you know, this and again, the all the different players' names what are flying through here. I'll quickly go past that one, Stan.
That's the thing.
No, Stan.
He wasn't.
No.
Stan, breathe, Stan.
Right. I've put him in the timeout room.
He's the sin bin.
Yeah, but and again, you know, Mark
apart from that, he was all right.
You know, the impact what he had on us, you know, on loan from West Ham that season. And I'll never, you know, I used to love Keegan, but I'll never forgive him because he says that City and West Ham would have had some sort of like a charity funding match, and that never happened. Got a good memory, mate.
Why are you blaming Keegan?
Because Keegan promised it us.
Yeah,
but it might not have been him that didn't get to arrange it. It might have been West Ham.
Shouldn't have opened his mouth then anyway, should he?
I knew you'd say that.
But there is this, like, I'm just looking through here, and Blue Art says Paulo One-Shot was quality, just got injured far too often. He was. Do you remember when he came and he joined Derby? When he joined Derby County, it was against United, wasn't it? Where he just absolutely ran through the full pitch and scored. One-Shot was, and again, the best chant ever when he played with Dickoff, One Chop and Dickoff. No, that was just nobody will be able to beat that chant.
Was it his debut, or it was a Wednesday night? It was only 2 or 3 matches into the new season. We just got promoted.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty certain he was One Shot. We were at home against Sunderland, and we won 4-1 or 4-2.
Did he get that one? Oh, was it an hat-trick?
No, he got an hat-trick, and we were thinking, do you know what? We might have finally got a striker in that'll keep us up.
He was.
We didn't learn. It took a long time.
He was a little bit off his head as well when he One-Shot, just a free spirit. Section says Joey Barton, did he get sent off on purpose when he played for QPR, or was he just a mental case? He was just a nutcase.
Just an absolute mental case.
I cannot stand that fella. The way he actually.
He did bring that up. He was interviewed a while ago, and he did bring that up, and he said, "What I was thinking was, if I'm getting sent off, I'll try and take a few out with me." And that's why he didn't he headbutt Aguero?
Yeah.
You need Aguero in his leg, and then tried to headbutt Vinny.
That's it. Yeah, I knew there was an head going in there.
And initially it was a foul on Tevez, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He fouled Tevez. Then because he knew he was going to get sent off, he tried to headbutt or kick? Oh no, he kicked Aguero.
He kicked Aguero.
Yeah.
Didn't Richard Dunn break his toe over him when they were out in some kind of pre-season?
Yeah.
And Joey Barton stuck a cigar in a YTS player's eye, and Richard Dunn kicked the wall instead of fucking kicking Joey Barton and broke his toe and missed a few matches.
In fact, I've heard an interview recently, and don't scream with a name, but Danny Mills was with us at the time, and Danny Mills spoke about that incident, and Danny Mills basically said that he got hold of Barton and he was going to absolutely leather Barton for what he did to that kid. He says Joey Barton was just out of control. And again, I can't stand. But another player I put down to an absolute bargain. We've had the likes of Andy Morrison and stuff like that. Let's fast forward it.
Yeah.
And again, and bizarrely, I have actually got. He was somebody I want to talk about. Was it 12, 14 million or something? And again, I'm seeing there Alvarez as well. You can put Alvarez in that category.
Alvarez is a great shout. It really is a good shout, Alvarez. And it shows you can still get value for money now if you're doing your own work right. I remember the scouts arguing. Do you remember the scouts arguing Nunes was better than Ireland? Yeah. We were saying, we've got Alvarez who's better than Nunes. That's the level that Nunes was at, and still hasn't got there. And yet they paid around 50 million more. It was absolutely insane.
Our Nunes is better than Liverpool's Nunes.
That's what we were talking about last week, Andy, myself, and Anne-Marie. How the Premiership clubs don't use the likes of David Moyes or Mark Hughes to go out and get these talents in. They obviously have an eye for a player, and they're sat at home.
Don't agree, mate, because do you think it's Mark Hughes who identifies players, or it's our scouting system?
Back then it would be Mark Hughes.
No, it wasn't.
Not a chance.
It wasn't.
Mate. Not a chance.
We had a very, very good scouting system then.
Mm-hmm.
The analytics, they were kicking in. They were good.
It's just like me. My scout here is, I don't know any of yous, but somebody took my scouting system says bring these 3 through the ranks. And you don't.
I tell you what, though, I will agree with you, Paddy, up to a point that
you always get one or 2 wrong, though.
No, I mean, it was it. Benitez summed it up great. You'll be looking for a player, so you'll want a particular player to go in your system, and then the scouting department will come off and come back and say, right, we've got 3 or 4 here. These are the pros and these are the cons of all of them. And then they'll say, well, which one do you want to work with? And they'll say, right, well, if you think this is me 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can get him, great. If you can get him, great. All right, if you get him, all 4 of them are good enough. But, this is the order. Right. Now, the problem then with things like that, and this is something that United still can't get their head around, is Benitez left Valencia because he asked Valencia and he said, I went into the boardroom and I told them I wanted a sofa and they bought me a lampshade. And I realised at that point we weren't going to go any further because he didn't give him what he needed. Now, obviously, Hughes had said, I need a striker or I need whatever. So they said, right, these are the best 3 strikers. So Hughes will have gone for Rocky Santa Cruz because he knew him. Now, remember, he had injuries and what have you. But he said, no, stick with it, be all right. And that's how sometimes these things work. And there's 1,001 things where things can go wrong. But yeah, that was what had gone on there. They knew who they were.
Do you not think, Stan, that the lower league, like say lower Premier League teams, seem to get it nailed on? Say the likes of Brighton, like their recruitment process is unbelievable.
No, they don't. They do, but then they hit a ceiling. Now, it's easier to recruit for a team in the Championship than it is for the team who not only has to be in the Premier League, have to qualify for Europe every year.
Yeah.
Because the pool of players is a lot bigger. So you can go for players. So Brighton, until they come into the Premier, could go for certain players that City would never have gone for because they would have dragged us down. But those players dragged Brighton. No. What I'm saying is, if you're there, your team's there, and this player's here, and Brighton were there, where are you going to end up?
Yeah, but
he can drag them up to there and maybe go a bit higher. But one person isn't going to drag a team higher than that.
Okay, how are we going to define this then for value for money? Because you'll get the likes of Andy Morrison, who is value for money, Akanji, Vinny. But let me throw one at you for value for money. About 35 million, which is a lot of money, granted.
Yeah, it's always going to be difficult with it, Andy, because it's so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now, I would never vote for Tevez in a millionaire's of value for money. I just thought it was a pain in the ass. But other people do, and that's fair enough. That is fair enough. That
fella's value for money for 1 goal and 1 goal only, if you like. Yes, he was an unbelievable goal scorer for us and was fantastic for us, but that 1 goal that he'll be remembered for most of all, for us as City fans, absolutely priceless.
Don't you think that's I'm not saying you're disrespectful here, Anne-Marie. Let me choose my. But if people who think that, it's disrespectful to Aguero because he never got the plaudits and the credit what he deserved on Premier League stature, did he? Because of how many teams of the season he got in and stuff like that.
No, but then at that particular time, Andy, and going forward, we used to get very few players in the team of the year and things like that. On the year in 2012 when we won the league for the first time, he missed out because he got booked on the last day of the season when he took his shirt off when he scored the goal. Mm-hmm. That's what missed him out on getting in the team of the year.
And it's
a ridiculous rule. But ultimately, he's our leading goal scorer of our all time, which I think will be overtaken by Haaland. But
can I say one other thing? And I'm backing Anne-Marie to a degree here. One of the arguments you could say against Alvarez is how many matches did he play? Now, going back to that MCFC forum, do you remember back in the day, Andy? There was constant arguing about that. That, did he play enough games? And when you look, he might have scored 20 goals, but he played 25 games. His scoring rate is off the record.
Longevity as well.
Absolutely off the chart.
If you put out 30 odd million over 10 years, it's a bargain, isn't it?
Well, it is a bargain, because I'll be dead honest with you. I knew we were signing him, but did I know who he was? Did I know how good he was? I was just going off what other people told me. I didn't have a clue. But when I saw him that first game against Swansea, and I saw what he did, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, we've got the real deal here.
There was you could sense something special. And the same could be said for David Silva. What did he cost us? 25 million or something?
I'll be honest, Andy, I knew about Aguero, but that was because I lived in Spain. So that's, that's just me being a little bit fortunate. I'm being honest,
I didn't, all these people that will
tell
you,
fair enough.
Whatever else.
A lot of people didn't.
No clue about him whatsoever. So when I actually watched him play for myself, I knew we'd got the real deal.
I'm glad you worded that right then. Jesus Christ.
I'm just looking at Aguero now. Right, he was with us for 10 years. Right? And all European Cup games, FA Cup, Football League, not Football League, Premier League, FA Cup, the lot, on average, in a season, he played 27 and a half games. That's half a season for 10 years. Obviously, it wasn't. He did play a few seasons where he played more, but then he was out for, long injuries. And I'm just trying to give us half a second. He played over 30 games. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times he played over 30 Premier games. So,
I know, but when you're getting this shit kicked out of you week in, week out, you're going to get injured. And he was.
Of course, yeah.
But
not going to dispute that.
For a man of his stature, his height and his build, very few people could get the ball off him.
No. And I tell you what, give it a couple of years and people that will be for the exact same reason about Haaland. And in fact, well, he's going now, isn't he? Or he's injury prone. Well, he's injury prone. He's just having the SH kicked out of him every 5 minutes. He is, isn't he? Same with Bunny Shaw.
Yeah, well, she should have had a penalty the other night.
So these are these things that forwards do get 7 bells knocked out of them, and they will miss games.
And it's good to see here as well. Like so many, like the guys in the chat, putting so much out. Names like Zabaleta, Company, Sun Ji-ai, it's Stan Bowles. It's incredible. We have had a lot of bargains over the year, but right, let's talk about who you consider.
Andy, just before you go on there, the Pep was going to sell Aguero, wasn't he? Only the other striker, but he got injured.
I'm not sure if he's going to sell him. I just think he wanted him to change the way he played. He wasn't very good at the beginning of doing that trigger, where they all go and press. And it's ingrained into everyone now. He won't ever have that argument again, because anyone who's come through the academies has learned it.
Yeah.
But it's, again, he persevered with Aguero, but he didn't persevere with Joe Hart. Now, I know that's a bone of contention for a lot of people. And unfortunately, the guy he brought in really didn't help his case.
No.
But that's football. People will disagree on things. And sometimes it's just better is for you to carry on your career at another club.
Section Lake is still my idol, and I love Lake. I'm honoured enough to know him. He's just a legend of a human being. He is. But so again, you can just go through. So come on, okay. Worst ever player, right? I'll just throw one out there now.
Got work in the morning.
Lee Bradbury.
Oh,
He was the same price as company, wasn't he? 6 million.
He was all right.
I remember when he joined us. When we sold him, he just started scoring goals, didn't he, for us? But it just shows you that the times what we've had, and we are blessed to see what we've got now. But it don't mean to say we've always been shit. It don't mean to say we've never had any good players and stuff like that, because we've had kids who come through the academy and stuff like that. What was that? Somebody got a mouse there?
I was just moving my laptop.
Stan was up in his wallet.
I was just going to say it's Paddy up in his wallet.
So yeah,
I've got WD-40, mate.
You've got a lot of fucking things.
I nearly said something and I can't because it's not 9 o'clock yet.
Tell you what, here we go. You named an Australian there, didn't you? Who did you name? No.
Seattle.
Yes. Now, just from Australia home, we've had Anthony Cacares, Luke Bratton, the king of them all, Simon Colosimo, Danny Alsop, Jason Van Blurt, plus Arzani and Mui. Are any of them going to get in any awards for anything?
See,
that's the scale. That's the scale of the problem when we start talking about bad players. There's reams of them.
Oh, there is, but you've got to be. I mean, for me, Danny Tiato summed up the time we were playing and the team that we had at that time. But he was a fighter. He never gave up on anything. And I always appreciated that as a fan.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's fair enough.
No, and like we said, like BB saying there, David Silva, 25 million. That was, and that's what you've got to put in for like bargains, aren't you? Because again, longevity. 10 years at the club. Break that down, 25 million. Over 10 years, what's that, Paddy? What's that season?
2.5 million. I'm very good at mental arithmetic, Mr. Savage. You'll never catch me in mental arithmetic. Ask me any sum you want.
What's the square root of 7,857,000?
I'm going to be a dick now. Come on, Andy. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
Here, how much was Yuri Rosler?
Good shout.
I don't know, but he went down a bomb. Ooh.
BB says there, yeah, the same, for bargain was 20 million.
How much was he?
I'm sure he's only about 20 million or something like that, wasn't
he? 10 years he was at City. 10 years.
Who, Yaya?
No, what? Silver. I'm going back. I've got to catch up on the
conversation, Stan.
No, that's what I'm doing. I'm coming back.
For anybody who wants to watch Stan, you can catch him later on MCFC 9320 PUBcast +1.
Wait, yeah, I was going to say.
It'll still be late. It'll still be delayed.
Do you remember the two Ronnie sketch when they did Mastermind and you had to answer the question before? I've never really progressed from that.
But yeah, you talk about value for money. Yeah, and that's another one. And because I don't know about you, but sometimes you take these big players. I don't mean tall. You take these big stars and stuff like that, and what they contribute to the club when you're putting them down as bargains and stuff like that. Sometimes you brush over the fact that the fees, what you paid for them and stuff.
Well, that's a modern day thing. There's obviously going to be big fees, whatever. But if you go back 10, 15, 20 years, then you're in the kind of reasonable money. Everybody was paying reasonable money then. How much was Kinkladze?
2 million or something, wasn't it?
Much would he be worth today?
2.5.
This felt. You see, again, was he a generation too soon?
Yes. And I'd love to have seen Yuri Rosler play under Pep, because he would have got fucking 100 goals a season. Yuri Rosler was unbelievable and well underrated.
Too old now, mate. There's no way
I
you'd
know that. His son was playing, but he's not very good.
His son played for, was it Colin who was in our academy?
Yeah.
He named his boys after ex-City legend.
Yeah. I'm telling you, he doesn't get mentioned enough by our club, Yuri Rosler.
He's actually a member. He's still a member of the Mallorca Blues in Campastia at a pub called the Manchester Pub.
Right, David Silver, talking about being injured and what have you, and Anne-Marie was mentioning when you're playing up front, you're going to get kicked more. We were just saying there that Aguero played over 10 years, 27.5 games a season. David Silver, 43.6. It's like 70. How much more percent is it, Paddy? Mr. Maths. It's about 70%.
What was Aguero?
Aguero was 27.5. So you're going from 27.5 up to 43.5, which is 15. About 55.
Right.
Yeah, about 60% more. About 60% more.
Here's a quick trivia question for you, and I'll be amazed if you get this. Who did John Burridge make his debut for us against?
That's a question for Stan.
United.
Sort of.
Must be Sheffield, so, or Newcastle.
Newcastle.
I honestly don't get how you, especially Stan, how you can recall information like that. I could meet people 25 times and not remember their name.
I know, and the reason I know that, every Sunday night we have to introduce ourselves again to you, don't we, before we start the stream?
I've got little stickers on my screen on top of your head so that I know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, he's got little
Hey, that's an idea, Stan. That's an idea.
Yeah, no.
Little sticker.
Yeah, I've got Dickhead, Anne-Marie, and Paddy.
Uncle Nobed Webber. No, I want to talk a little bit about Kinkladze, because again, he's another one. Yeah, he was Alan Ball's favourite little boy, if you like. However, do you know something? He brought us joy when he brought us joy when we needed it.
We did. He did. He generated a lot of sing-alongs as well, didn't he?
What was his mate called? Casavidi or something? And he kept saying the Alan Ball bit.
Mikhail Kavalashvili.
Yeah. There was two others as well that turned up.
Yep.
Taskadadze, that was one of them.
Yeah. And what was the other one in the derby? Smash Schmeichel in his nose. Mikhail Kavalashvili.
We've already said him.
Yeah.
The
was the other one then.
Kinkladze is that while he was a wizard of a player, he possibly cost us more in the fact that he didn't like to pass the ball.
He didn't do bad with it when he had it, though, did he?
No, but you've got to be realistic, Andy. At that particular time, we were fighting for our lives, trying to avoid getting relegated, and we needed a team. And at that time, with him in the team, we didn't have a team. We had a one-man wonder who needed to learn to pass the ball more. And
he wasn't consistent enough for me.
You're right there, Anthony. what you said there, Anne-Marie, is the exact reason why he would never have made it in a Pep team.
Yeah.
Did he have the talent to make it in a Pep team? Of course he did. He had loads of talent. But you've got to remember where we were as a mindset, as a fan set.
Bullshit.
That everything we had at the time was dark. And he was a ray of light. And that's why there were so many songs made about him. And he was unbelievably good when he wanted to play.
Hang on a minute.
Unfortunately, he didn't fit in that team.
Hang on.
He didn't fit in.
That's like saying Aguero would have been shit under Alan Ball. It's down to the management that Kinkladze. I still believe Kinkladze under Pep would have been a sensation. Look at Messi. At the time, he was touted as sort of like he was touted as that.
You're saying that, Andy, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying is, it would have taken Pep time to change the way Kinkladze played, and at the time when we needed him to be playing, while he was exceptional, there's no disputing that. My point of view is that it's a team game, and because he was reluctant to pass when we could have scored a definite goal, and he wouldn't pass it, that he at times cost us more than we gained from him. That's my own opinion.
I don't think it would have taken Pep that long to turn Kinkladze around, because if he didn't
Raheem Sterling didn't cost us.
And Joe Royal agreed with you, Anne-Marie. Now, you tell any other fan set out of Man City, where would you put Kinkladze? Like it says there, when he went to Ajax, or when he went to Derby and things like that. He never really shone.
When he sold Kinkladze to Ajax, he took us to the cleaners, didn't he?
Who? Ronnie Lee?
Ajax.
No, it wasn't that. That wasn't funny.
All right.
If it had been funny, we would have laughed. There are rules, aren't there?
Funny.
Red card.
I think you're talking.
He's in the huff now. He's in the huff.
I think you thought. I thought you were going to say that.
Okay. Right. Let's move on.
That was the second offer that I wanted from Ajax. Franny Lee says, I'm not going to wipe my ass with that.
Right, so
you see that got a laugh because that was funny.
No, I just laughed. I'm going to let Anne-Marie talk about a player and drool over him. You know, where we compare him.
Mahrez.
Anne-Marie, I know you love me.
I love him, absolutely love him.
I love you too.
So, what I like about that bit though is the little tear in Anne-Marie's eye on the memories and the fondness that are. It says the eyes are the window to the soul.
So
that's what got it for me.
It's quite clear the love you've got for him. So what makes him special? And again, I thought Mahrez was great for us.
I think we paid over the odds for him. Because we paid, I think it was £66 million for him.
I think he justified that, to be honest with you. He did more. I think he did more than enough. He got us out of the shit, I don't know how many times. Like, everybody knew he used to come in on his favourite foot and score. Everyone knew that. Every defender in the Premiership knew that. But stopping it was a different matter. Same with Saka at Arsenal. You know exactly what Saka's going to do, but stopping him is a different kettle of fish. I
might well be wrong here, but how long was he with us?
5 seasons with it. What's that? Too long?
Yeah.
Why?
Did we not win the league every year he played for us?
No.
It might be the first season or one. We might have missed the league one season and he was there 5 years.
I don't think anybody we have currently that plays in that position has filled Mahrez's boots. They had potential, but they haven't produced what Mahrez has produced down through the years.
Absolutely.
No, a lot of the players we have in that position now, particularly on the right-hand side, are 10 years younger than Mahrez was.
That's why it's
yeah. They've still got.
Bernardo's been playing over there.
Yeah, but I'm not including Bernardo in this discussion.
Well, you can't not include somebody if it goes against your argument.
Well, it's not that it goes against. Here's the proof. Then, all right, you want the argument, Stan? Yeah. You watch Bernardo play in that position. He's up and down like a blue arse fly, backtracking. Mahrez never did it. Never did it.
Right, but which is fair enough. Which you've got to stick to. Have you noticed?
My biggest argument with him.
And do you know why they did that?
The team enough.
You know why they did that? Because we had a get out then, and we had somebody to aim at, and then we had somebody who could track the ball, get it under control, all within the blink of an eye, and we had an attack going.
Absolutely.
And could quite easily lose the ball. You know, you hear Doku
the ball. He might do, but then at least the ball 70 yards down the pitch. If he lost the ball, it was 70 yards away from the goal, and we were all behind the ball.
Yeah, but he would never track back. That's my argument. For me, he didn't work hard enough for the team. It was that simple.
Told him not to come back over that halfway line. Otherwise, Pep would term a new one. So he's been told, just the way Walker inverts or Lewis inverts, they're doing exactly what Pep tells them to do, even though the ball over the top and the counter-attack is on. So they keep doing it. You can't tell me Pep has not told them, like, do this and do that and don't come off that wing. Like Jack Greaves will tell you that. He tells them, don't come off that wing. So he was telling Mahrez that day after day, match after match. You stay out there, we get the ball to you, you set up the counter-attack, and we're good to go.
There you go. Beyond belief gets where I'm coming from. Mahrez never put a foot in. He was soft. And that's exactly my argument with him.
His job wasn't to put the foot in. He wasn't that kind of a player. He was a flair player.
No, but we're supposed to be a team that defend from the front.
Well, all right then. David Silva must have been a huge disappointment.
No, because
I don't remember him being called David
Silva would put a tackle in, not like Mahrez. Yes, he did. He often got booked.
Who?
David Silva.
David Silva.
David Silva never put no.
I'm not so sure.
Silva says, Bernardo Silva. If you watch the interview with Ruben Diaz, and Ruben Diaz was all about the gym, and Bernardo Silva says to him, the fellas who are in the gym are the fellas that can't play football. You never see Silva putting a really dirty tackle in, or David Silva.
Oh, well, now you see Bernardo having the dig now and again. You do, Paddy.
He has a dig. He does have a dig. Bernardo, he does have a dig. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I'll agree with Bernardo. Yeah, but not his brother.
Haaland doesn't tackle.
He does sometimes.
Yeah, he tackled
once. He doesn't tackle. He
got sent off.
He just backs up on a tarmac flying machine.
Do you know
he doesn't tackle anyone? He just puts them on the ground.
Jesus, what for started here? Should we move on to a different player?
Please.
Well, this is all about. This is what this is all about, isn't it? Having a good old discussion. That's why it's a podcast and not a podcast.
Yeah, you can't beat a mass debate on a Sunday night. Forward. Right, I'm going to talk about underrated players who we've had. And I think one of the biggest underrated players we've ever had, and to a certain extent, we've not truly replaced up until recently, is this man.
Yeah, I knew you'd come up with it. You love him, don't you?
And why not?
Science. Every 5 chances, 1 goal.
Now, I tell you what, I've said this before, and Andy will back me up on this.
I won't.
The thing you will. The thing about Deco is, you don't know what he's doing, you don't know why he's doing it, and you don't know where he is. But you know, at the end of the season, he'd have got you 25 goals.
Absolutely.
And it's like, how the hell's he done that? I've actually physically watched him, and he's done nothing all year. And yet, he's walking away with 25 goals. And you cannot take that off anybody.
25 goals in a season for us.
You know what I'm getting at. You know what I'm getting at.
No, I do agree with that. I just think Dzeko is. I thought he's. Oh, I know why Anne-Marie's shaking it, because he didn't track back.
That's not. I didn't say a word.
No, I read your mind.
Well, you're wrong.
So let's talk Dzeko. Do you think he was underrated?
He wasn't prolific.
He wasn't prolific, is right. And often in a game, you wouldn't notice he was playing or not.
Hang on a minute.
But having said that, he did score some extremely important goals for us. So I've got no issue with that.
Tell your face that.
I've got other players that I'd rather talk about that I would say were my favourites.
I still hold Dzeko in high regard. He's like Stan said, he scores them goals. He has done all his career. Just because somebody's a striker doesn't mean. And you know something? The minute Haaland starts dipping his goal scoring, people will start getting on his back a little bit. Oh yeah, you know he's.
They already are.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to be careful for what we wish for, because I thought some of the. Again, like you say, Anne-Marie, he scored some very, very important goals for us. He was always there. He was never afraid to put his foot in or anything like that, or his head. You know, he was one of them strikers where, again, I just love Dzeko.
I won't put him in the elite bracket. But I would put him very high up in the very good category. Do you know what I mean? You know, you got different categories about people who are good at world class. He's not world class. He's not world class. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's where he is. I think he's probably at the top end of the better section, taking out world class players. All right. But I think that's where a lot of people. I think a lot of people have put him in that mid to above. He was above. But if he is underrated, I don't think it's huge.
What do you mean? I'm like watching tennis. Underrated.
He's fucking get up and down like a yo-yo.
No, what I'm trying to say is he's not. He's
bad. He's bad.
Yeah, he's not in the world class bit. We know that. Take that out. But when you've got the rest here, he's probably about here, and most people have him about here. So
it's like watching Michael Ballmer, top, middle, or bottom, strike it lucky.
This one, the unbelief has come up with a good one. He was underrated.
Who, beyond belief?
No, Gareth Bale.
And exactly, that's why I've left up. And again, value for money as well. So not only was he underrated, the value for money, what he had for us was incredible. And you know, so he was always a seven every single game, steady 7, wasn't he?
What about the Nigel Clough?
It was only because of where he played on the pitch. He didn't track back either. I'm only laughing. He was a defensive midfielder. He did his job. I'm just laughing. That's me being me. That.
But he was one of them players, and he's still held in high regard, isn't he? I think Everton fans and Villa fans, you know, I think they'll appreciate what we talk about, you know, for what he actually brought. You know, it's for every De Bruyne, you need a Gareth Barry, don't you, or a Fernandinho.
But everybody gets carried away with these flair players. For me personally, and this is just matching my personality.
What flair?
Who's going to put the boot in? Who's going to fight?
Yeah.
The likes of Danny Hierro, the Bellamy's, Fernandinho, Nigel Young. I like to see get him down.
This is one of the great phrases in football that's been used for years. I've mentioned this to Andy millions of times. Piano players can't play unless the piano shifters are working. And Gareth Barry was a piano shifter, unbelievable piano shifter. And I had a chat with a mutual colleague with Andy years ago. He was an Everton fan, and he says, I don't know what we're doing, signing Gareth Barry. I said, you're taking the piss. I said, he's about 20 times better than anything you've got at the moment. And you will have no idea what's coming your way. Come back to us a month later and he went, he's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I said, he is, because he does the job that nobody else really bothers. This is why Ferdinand never gets mentioned, because no one ever talked about those types of guys when you come to playing about the best in the world. He was a kid who was at Leicester when they won the league, and he went to Chelsea.
Conte.
World class. With Real Madrid had a defensive midfielder who defined the way it was played. They didn't think they needed him, but when he left, they fell apart. Another defensive midfielder. Rodri, Ferdinand, all that. It's took 40 years for a defensive midfielder to become player of the year.
Yeah. It just shows you the importance.
Correct. They don't get the credit because nobody ever talks about them. But you try playing without an unbelievable defensive midfielder, you're going to struggle.
So where would you put Calvin Phillips then, Stan?
We're talking about incredible defensive midfielders.
I tell you what,
you put him up here, or down here.
Down there. When he was at Leeds, you put him here because he knew what he was doing, and he was at the time at a team of his level, which comes back to what we were saying to you earlier, Paddy, about if you're up here as Man City and you want a side of playing there, it's all right when you're Brighton down there. He'll move you up. And that's the Calvin Phillips effect. There's thousands of players the same. Well, that's why it's easier to get better than it is to be at the top and stay at the top. So I've answered about 4 questions there in one go.
And I tell you what, on the questions what you answered, we didn't even ask them yet.
Yeah. He's gone under the future.
But you're right.
Well, I'll take them back and bring them out when they're relevant.
but you are right, Stan, about defensive midfielders. And that's why under the Galacticos they didn't really win anything, because they had all the flair players. They didn't have that engine in the middle.
Was it not Makalele? Was it Makalele? I'm trying to remember. It might have been Makalele.
That was George Bombay, wasn't it? Or was that ukulele?
George Makalele. No, he wasn't Makalele. He didn't play for Real Madrid.
I can't believe it there. We've got Andy, Mrs. Mahrez, Max and Paddy. You're right. So, Anne-Marie, are they important, these defensive midfielders?
Absolutely.
Talk about them then, go on. Instead of stuffing your face.
No, well, I was always a fan of De Jong myself.
Exactly. There's another one. The importance of it's been it's a featured for us a lot, that though, hasn't it? In recent years, like your De Jongs, your Fernandinhos, and I tell you who I might get shot down here. Defensive midfielder stroke centre back. I thought. No, I hate that bastard.
Who's that?
Milner. No, I'll never give him the credit. But I was just about to speak, and I think Stan will appreciate this name. Javi Garcia. Underrated.
Who?
He was.
Why are you laughing, Stan?
He was. I backed him all the time. Back in MCFC forum days. He was the prototype. Rodri. All right, we went away and came back with a much better model. However, that's what he was doing. And at the time, he got slated for it. Mm-hmm. And when we actually started getting into the swing of things, this is when the Ferdinandos and the Fernandos and all them started coming in. Because we realised you do need that holding defensive midfielder. Wiki type. Who's that?
I think it's a fish in a marine tank. What's that, a poo? Isn't it?
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it was Claude Makalele who was on about. I've confirmed it to myself. Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't joking about Garcia, by the way, everybody in the chat and stuff like that. I thought Garcia was very, very underrated. I certainly, and I know Stan did, appreciate what he was doing at the time, but he was sort of like you say, a prototype of Rodri, and people might laugh at that, but if they go back and they think, that's exactly the kind of role, but we just didn't have them players facilitated what he was doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, we won the league and the League Cup in one season with him, didn't we? He wasn't a muppet, but I just think he was doing a job at the time that wasn't really appreciated.
There's the guy I couldn't remember, fella from West Ham.
Oh, Berkovic.
Yeah, he was
a maestro. He was a midfield maestro.
Paddy still can't remember it. It's right in front of him. and again, some De Jong, class and Elka, again, the potential what he had if he didn't have his brothers, Gota, Berkovic, Benabia, Sean Wright Phillips. Again, value for money, Sean Wright Phillips, Yeah, it can.
Hang on. I've just realised here. Nigel De Jong. Xavi Garcia came immediately after him, didn't they?
I think so.
He was the replacement. And that is what caused the problem, because Nigel De Jong was an all-action, tackling, kicking everything that moved up in the air, defensive hard-man midfielder.
Yep.
We shifted from that to a more culture, footballing-based defensive midfielder. And I think that sort of, for want of a better word, the shock of moving from somebody like Nigel De Jong, all battling, all action, all guns blazing, to somebody who got the ball and distributed it, started doing things. It was too big a jump for a lot of people.
Just shows you the way, exactly what you say, Stan. We've gone from De Jong, all action, to bring in sort of like a Rodri type player, and it didn't work. And then we dropped that one to bring Fernandinho in, and then we come back with Rodri, and we've not looked back. It's been that cycle of defensive midfielders, hasn't it?
Yeah. Just looking here, De Jong.
What happened to your man Fernando that was there?
I think he went to Portugal. Did he go?
Who, De Jong? Sorry, not De Jong. Garcia.
No, Fernando.
He went to
Fernando.
Fernando.
I don't know
where
did he
was named.
It was either Spain or Portugal. He went back to.
Was it not the Ukraine? Oh, we were talking about the other one.
No, that was Fernandinho.
Right. I must admit, I do get Fernandinho and Fernando. I get the names muddled up.
I know. Section says Milner left a bad taste, but was very good. I couldn't even finish that because I think I hate.
He was,
Milner.
Andy. You have to give it to James Milner.
He was.
No.
Do you know what?
He was on a par with. He was on a par with Gareth Barry. The problem is, Barry walked away and never said anything bad about us. Milner moved to one of our rivals and started having a pop, and that's the difference between the two players. But Milner,
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Anthony on that.
Milner was.
I think it hurts. I think it hurts a bit more because he was good.
Yeah.
Nobody was asked when Simon Colatimo moved on.
And that's
for all we know, he could be calling us black and blue down under.
But the thing is, though, like a couple of weeks ago when we sort of like did the show, our show about legends and stuff like that, and I define a legend or respect a player who, when they do leave us, they are respectful, and Milner wasn't. So that I'll never recognise a Milner in the Gareth Barry bracket. Neither will I recognise a Tevez or a Yaya Toure in an Aguero David Silva bracket.
Yeah, but you're judging that on personal, like what they've done after they've left us compared to what they've contributed whilst they were in our club. Like you can't say that James Milner didn't contribute to our club. He did.
Yeah, but he did the same way as Yaya contributed to our club. But I would agree with Andy. Yaya's not a legend, not by any way, shape, or form. To start bitching the day after you win the title because you didn't get a fucking cake for your birthday, when City TV actually put a video out of him getting a cake on the plane to Abu Dhabi for his birthday, but then telling his agent he didn't even get a cake.
Snake on a plane or a cake on a plane. Which film was that?
But
Cakes on the plane.
It was a snake.
That's why he'll never be a legend in my eyes.
I agree with you 100%, Anne-Marie.
I'll throw another one with in the Milner one. Andy Hinchcliffe. Now that hurts a little bit more because apparently he was one of our own.
He was
he
was an Evertonian, mate. Born and bred.
What I'm saying is he came through the academy. He scored the header that nailed the coffin in for United on the 5-1. And we were all gutted that he left and went to Everton. Now, like you say, he's an Everton fan and he's all right, fair, he can do what he wants. That's why we're just going to ignore him. All right, do what you want, Andy, but no one cares about it.
But there's so many players like that, Stan. I mean, you only look 5 Live, I think it is, have him on, or TalkSport. Danny Mills is on the radio every week. Now, he hates us with the passion, yet was happy enough to take his wages every week when there was never a chance he was going to play for us. Well, he's got nothing at all. As far as I'm concerned, he's written out of the history of our club.
Who's that?
Looks a bit like you.
Brad Pitt never played for City.
Yeah,
it rhymes with Pitt.
So it's weird that Chris has put.
I don't remember him. Who was he? What a christening he had. Richard Arlong, Edgil Camiseras Dana. I baptise you. That's a hell of a name.
Right. Richard Edgil. I love Edgy. The contribution Edgy had to our club, in particular, taking penalties in the playoff final, where he absolutely smashed one where Dickoff didn't. Edgil got treated disgustingly by a section of City fans, and I actually know, even to this day, it still affects him. And
here's another one. Now you have opened up another box here of players who were City fans who then got abused by City fans, but still love us. I mean, what this wasn't the fans, but what Nadine Adua had to read when Cookie done that email, it was like, what was going on? What was going on through? You had to do that. Now, these City players out there, there's been loads of them. Corrigan got slated. They've all got loads and loads and loads of them have been slated, but they still love the club.
Paul Power.
He didn't want to go. And we're going back down to your Barnes and your Owens and all the rest of them who all wanted to play for City, and then they got cleared off for one reason or another, but they still love the club. They're the complete opposite to the Milners, the Mills, the Hinchcliffes of the world.
By the way, Cole Palmer was actually at Edgeley Park yesterday.
Why is he the ex-City number 1?
Don't know. Ask Blue out.
Read the message. Read the message, Stan.
City enemy number 1.
Not for me. He's not.
I know that. I see what I do see what you're saying. It depends on how you read it, but I still don't understand why he's ending him. Why he's not done anything wrong, has he?
Exactly.
He's not like moaned at the club.
No,
it comes right back to that Bellamy and everything else. It comes back to that. He wanted to do this. The club wanted to do that.
That's what Blue Art's saying for some reason now. Cole Palmer's like public enemy number 1.
I've misread it. That's all.
What's wrong with City fans, Andy? In my opinion, what's wrong with City fans? When players leave, right, do you want that player to go downhill and not to be a success? Because we're so-called a bigger club now. But like for me, what Cole Palmer did, had a pair of roadies, backed himself, went to Chelsea, and is killing it. like you have to applaud that. But because he's a success, and you could turn around and say, "Oh, he's a big fish in a small bowl at Chelsea because he's the best player there," but like City fans always do that.
No, he's making me a few quid, so don't worry.
Like fair play to him. The lad had stones. They say to Pep, "Play me or I'm going," and Pep wanted to keep him, but wanted to kind of filter him in the way he did before. Cole Palmer felt he was ready to play full-time football week in, week out, backed himself, became a success. I know he scored a penalty against us. He didn't really celebrate it, which I don't get. But he hasn't done anything wrong to that club.
Just jumping in, I apologise, I blew out. Quite happy to apologise. I misunderstood what you'd read. So, all's cool, brother.
I didn't blew out. That's why I put him in his place. And it is so. And I think there's a lot of truth in what the three of you have said there. I think we won't be. Well, when I say we, I think City fans won't be having the discussion if Cole Palmer went to Chelsea and wasn't doing very well. But because he's going absolutely, he's Chelsea's best player by a country mile. Now, would he have been the same for City? We don't know because we can only guess on that and assume, can't we? My guess is. If he was given the chance, yes, because especially it depends who you believe, Pep or Cole Palmer or the in the middle. Now, what Pep was saying basically was, Cole Palmer was told to, Pep wanted him to stay at the club because he knew Mahrez was going, and Cole Palmer basically said no, or want to go out on loan. Now, Cole Palmer's denying that, etc., etc. But either way, we're seeing a tremendous footballer, who's developed, through the City ranks.
And we made a player that cost us nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely would have made it at ours.
I tell you what, though, I'll be honest with you. When I see players that were at City and then going on to doing better, I think it's actually good for us because when we're getting young kids coming in now, we can say to them, listen, all right, we're giving you the chance to play for Man City. If you're not quite good enough for us, you can always go to Chelsea or Real Madrid or Barcelona. And that pathway is open for a player to go anywhere in Europe. Now, when you're training players, the only thing that you can do is get them to the very, very top of their potential because everybody's potential is slightly different. And some players at 8, 9, 10 year old now will not play for City. I'd say maybe one.
Stan, was you on the show when we had Paul Lake on?
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, I had this. I was chatting to Lakey about that. It was you and Amory. And for me, a successful academy, you want these kids to come through like a Foden, a Rico, etc. But for me, a successful academy is if you bring a player through. If he doesn't make it for you, he goes on to have a great career somewhere else. And we're seeing that with Morgan Rogers. We're seeing it. We're seeing it with Sancho, we're seeing it with Cole Palmer, we're seeing it with Lavia, the list goes on and on and on. For me, that's a success story of the academy. And it's exactly 100%. what you're saying, Stan, because that.
Well, I'm glad Paul Lake agrees with me.
You'll be able to entice these kids more because they can see
100%.
You'll have the best chance to make it. Everywhere else. If it's not with City, they'll sell you, and if they sell you, you're going to get a decent signing on fee, and you're going to get a decent wedge of money as well.
Stan, you're going to love me for this, Stan, because that's what Graham Potter says there on one of the podcasts I listened to when he was manager of Brighton. He'd bring players in, and he'd tell them, "Look, you'll be here for a year or two. We'll get you a big club, and we won't stand in your way." And that's exactly what Brighton do.
Yeah, no, and it's right, and. That's how they work. They've already got somebody in place to replace the manager at Brighton. They work about 3 seasons ahead. City and everyone else, they don't do it now, but they used to have a great big whiteboard. You'd have a player's name on it, and you'd have a sort of how long they're expected to play. But underneath, there'll be one saying that who's coming in over the next 5 years. And as a 16-year-old gets to 21, and the 25-year-old on the top board gets to 30, you can start seeing who's going to be in that phase of where you need to of where you need to buy. Now, one thing that Brighton have done and do quite well is they'll sell somebody on, but they'll make sure that that area of the team is a little bit weakened so that when somebody comes in, they can go in that place and they can do it. And they do it on purpose so that they can generate the money to move up. Again, that's one thing City can't do. We can't sort of like, we're doing it at the moment because we've got so many injuries, but we can't make it doesn't matter the position, the right back, whatever, a little bit weaker so that we can ensure that Fred Smith can go in that position 2 years down the line. Mm-hmm. Other clubs can do that, and it's called progression. And it's great. Now, I won't put Morgan Rogers in that our academy. I think he was only there for a year. But your Taylor Bellises, yes, definitely. Your Cole Palmers, yes. I think you need to have played at least a couple of years for the academy for us to actually claim that they are one of our own. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. There's plenty of them.
The list goes on. The lad Jeremy Frimpong now, he's highly rated. And sometimes you have to take that step. What Cole Palmer's done, and fair lad. As I say, he's still grounded. Yesterday, he was at Stockport County watching County beat Wrexham 1-0, and it's how many players would do that?
Yeah, but look how many City fans turned him on. His family's full of rags, and they're all rags this and rags that. So
they are, but it's like, so what? And again, we only have this conversation because he's making such a success out of it, rather than if he was below average, it wouldn't even be up for debate, would it?
No, I mean, Frimpong is a fantastic example.
I know.
He's moved himself from right back, then he became a wing back, and now he's more or less a right winger. But he was at City for just shy. He joined us at 10, didn't he? And he was just shy of 10 years. And he went to Celtic, and now he's gone to Dortmund. And Leverkusen. Went on that wonderful, unbeaten run last year and won the German league. Now, I can't see why we couldn't go back in for him.
Hang on a minute. Terry Phelan was not a rag, mate. He's never been a rag. I know Terry. He's never been a rag. Am I right there, Paddy?
He's fast.
No. Terry Phelan. Was you on when he was on our show that time? I know Terry Phelan. Terry Phelan was not a rag, mate. Honestly.
Actually, I've seen a guy who was in India.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I was on that show.
He's another one, though, isn't he? He's another cult hero. We've lost that Terry Phelan.
Yeah.
We've lost that Terry Phelan when we've lost the game.
But,
so if you have a song about you, I think you're on the right path. Unless you're Alan Ball.
He had a few songs, Terry Phelan.
Yeah, no, he's all right, Terry. Good player. I think the Tottenham game is the one that everyone remembers. Fucking hell, Peter Griffin.
What's that?
I reckon, Paddy, under there, your hand is doing that, clenching.
I'm doing nothing.
I can't even see the comment stand, so it makes no difference to me.
Don't worry about it, Paddy. Oh God.
I'll
we know.
Back in the big screen.
Well, somebody's written on there. We know what they've written on in the top half isn't true, because that person is here today. However,
where
the bottom half.
Oh God! Listen, we've done an hour and a half. We only normally do an hour.
Not bad for this PUBcast.
It doesn't matter, mate. It's everybody's.
Do you know what? I saw that earlier in the week and I was laughing, right? Because despite Anne-Marie and Paddy doing a really good job last week, right? It's those fickle fans that while we're going for a rough patch, we want to clear off. I thought, well, yeah, you two, you can clear up. Not you two. You can clear off because we don't need fans like you, like on the podcast. If you've got a criticism, come on here and say it, and we can argue about it. Right? Don't just sort of like knock and run like a shit house.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
the other thing is, people don't always understand the context in which this goes out. We're not paid. It's not a job. And Amberate and Paddy were thrown in there through no fault of their own. Yeah? But they didn't. It would have been easier to say we're not doing it, but they didn't. They did it.
People are wondering whether Stan's drunk and you don't know what he's on about. There was a couple of negative comments by somebody in the not in the thing here, actually on the YouTube where they leave comments, and it was quite nasty. And you know something, Stan's right. If you don't want to watch, fuck off. Simple as that. Mm. We don't get paid for it. We're coming here to have light-hearted stuff every single Sunday. We don't overkill it by having 20 shows a week and stuff like that. Tonight, all the other content creators probably are going on about doom and gloom City and stuff like that. So we do something different. We talk about the past. It's not all about,
but even last week, to be fair, we didn't dwell on the poor performance or anything, did we, Paddy? We tried to be positive and having a bit of perspective, and that's the way we worked the podcast last week, because there's no point in being negative and doom and gloom about it all the time. We've lost 2 league games.
It's very easy.
No, the thing is, though,
when they're down, and
the thing is, the
podcast is when they say a player finds out about his players when things are not going their way. It's the same with fans. Like these are instead of digging in and getting behind the team, they're just taking pot shots at fans or at players.
Yeah. And that, Paddy, is what annoyed me. It would have been very easy for you two just to say, "Oh well, we'll leave it this week." You didn't. You stood up and you were counted, and that's it.
Like my idea.
Then with no spine, ran off and didn't want to know.
When things are going rough, that's the time you stand shoulder to shoulder and you go for it.
It wasn't rough though.
I see what you did there, Paddy.
You don't run away from it, like
Correct.
Or we're going through a bit of a rough time. Oh, fuck City. Or he's shite. That's shite. He's shite. Pep. This Pep. Oh, Pep signed a contract. Get a life.
The interesting thing is, I think the comments were by 2 different other City channels.
Don't worry. Listen, don't worry about him. By the way, Rob, he looks more like Alfred Hitchcock than Albert.
What? What the hell? Let's
not even waste negativity on stuff like that. You did a great job, and that's what we can't all be. We can't be here every single week, and if people like it, they'll tune in. If they don't, hey, this is no animosity. Just find yourself somewhere else. Simple as that.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? People will come up to you and say, "I know you're having a problem there now. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now if you don't win the league at the end of the year?" It's like, are you simple? We've had 40 years and not. It's not. It's just not going to. If we don't win the league this year, it won't even be. It won't even be a blip. Won't even be a blip on what we did and how we support the club. Nothing. It won't change one single thing of our love for the club.
And
all it will do is say, well, we're one of maybe 3 teams in the league that can win it next year, and that's it.
And something, we laugh at ourselves. The reason why Stan wasn't here last week, he was with me and Benny down, wasn't you, mate?
My God, that's a rough lot if ever I've seen one. The state of him. This place is going right down market.
You can't talk to me like that. My father fell at Normandy.
I don't care if you went arse over tit in Scunthorpe, you're a dickhead. My God, that's a...
Telling the truth, though, isn't it?
And that's it. It's about.
I tell you what, if his granddad fell in Normandy, why was nobody else around to pick him up?
But that's it. We have a laugh and a joke, and so if we make one person smile, if somebody's going through a rough time and stuff like that, and they watch this, and we give them a good giggle, job's done.
Yeah.
Job's done. And you know something, in all seriousness, it could be worse, couldn't it, Paddy?
Manchester United.
And that's what it's all about. Listen, as always, thank you very much.
It'll never get old.
Oh, no. Listen,
No,
Anne-Marie,
I love it.
Dan, and Paddy, always a pleasure, never a chore, guys.
Indeed.
Right, folks.
Yeah,
Take care, everyone.
next Saturday we're at home to Spuds. Yeah. So we'll have to,
5 kickoff.
you know something. We might not even talk about football next week. We might just have a laugh. Just come and have a
Well,
laugh.
we'll see what happens on Saturday. Eh?
Yes, see what happens. Eh? Listen,
We'll have a few back and all, won't we? We'll have a few back from
Yeah.
new starts coming back in. So
I know. Listen,
more
more importantly, thank you to everybody, and I mean everybody, whether they contribute in the chat, whether they just sit there, have a laugh, or whatever. If we make you night, if we make you week, whatever, that's what it's all about. Have an absolutely great week, all, and we'll do it again next week. Bye-bye now.
Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
folks.